Alright, so I'm installing the drain and waste plumbing for my bathroom down in the garage, and the bathroom is directly above this. Right now I'm cutting into the old plumbing because all of the old fixtures, shower, toilet, sink, are all getting moved to new locations, and we're also adding a bathtub. So all of the old plumbing is getting moved. I'm cutting out the old toilet line. Now I'm cutting the pieces for the new plumbing. Miter saw works pretty good for this, although it has a strong smell when you cut the PVC like that. Alright, now I'm right there. I was dry fitting up the pieces and making sure it all lines up. Here I'm gluing it together. The purple colored one you see is the primer. You kind of do that first, and it cleans the pipe, and then the second pass is a clear cement that binds it together. Here I'm putting the elbow on top. In this case, you can use a regular elbow instead of a long sweep elbow because it's going from horizontal to vertical. Like it's going from, if you follow the direction of the flow, it's going from a horizontal pipe down to a vertical pipe. And then up here, now I'm upstairs in the bathroom where the bathroom's going to be, and I laid out and cut and put together like kind of, they're not actually installed together yet, but just dry fit together all the pieces up here upside down in the bathroom, and this kind of let me go off of the holes in the floor to line everything up and get everything the right length, get all the right pieces I needed before actually putting them together down in the garage, where it'd be more work, to try to work above my head up in the air rather than working down on the floor by doing it upside down up here. Of course, those two P-traps you see there, those will get turned around when it's down in the garage. Vacuuming out, cleaning out some of the little cuttings that come off of the miter saw. That larger 3-inch line, that's for the toilet waste line, and the smaller pipe is a 2-inch line. That's for the shower on the left, the tub in the middle, and then it goes on the far right. It's going over to the double vanity sinks. Okay, I've got my pieces ready, and so now I'm gonna drill the holes up through the ceiling of the garage to connect to the holes in the floor upstairs in the bathroom. Spraying a little soapy water on there and using that plastic thing around the hole saw to try to contain as much of the drywall dust as I can. Now here I've got to figure out all the heights. So you want to have a 1/4 inch slope per foot. So, you know, going down in the direction of the flow. For the bigger 3-inch pipe, I think it can be a little less, like 1/8 of an inch per foot. Anyway, but yeah, so I'm shooting for like a 1/4 of an inch per foot. So I got to figure out which point is going to be the highest, which in this case was controlled by the toilet because of that bigger line. And so for the elbow that goes up to the toilet, that is going to be as close to the ceiling as possible. And then I have to figure out how much to drop at every other point to get the slope to make sure that it flows right. And I think on a new build, generally you would run the pipe through the floor joists. In this case, they're only 2x8, and there's also a big beam there going down the middle of the room, the middle of the garage there, and it was not enough depth that this could actually run through the floor joist and have the slope needed, and it'd be too tough to go through that beam. So in this case, like the existing bathroom that I was taking apart, I kept the drain lines just running in the garage near the ceiling. So that line that Y's off there, that's going over to the toilet, and then on the end there, you see that kind of goes straight. So that gives me a clean out spot where I can, where if needed, you know, if you ever have a clog or something, you can open that up and clean it out. It's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it. Now, another thing to think about with these drain lines, in addition to having the right slope and having the right fittings, having the right fittings at all the turns. Another thing to think about, and having the P-traps where you need them. Every time you have those P-traps, anywhere where the water goes downstream, you also have to have a vent pipe that goes up from there. And a traditional way of doing that is every P-trap, so every drain, like the shower, the bathtub, the sinks, the toilet, everyone would have its own vent pipe. Now, kind of a more modern way of doing it that is more efficient, I guess, is to use wet venting. So rather than having a single, like a dedicated dry vent that goes straight up from every one of those P-traps, wet venting allows you to use a pipe that is also used for, is also a drain for the vent. So it's not just a dry air vent, it's also the drain. So in this case, the sink drain line is serving as the wet vent for every other fixture here. The key to that is the toilet drain has to be the last one connected to the vent. So if you start at the top of the vent, so in this case it's going to go up through the roof of the house, and you go down the vent and you kind of follow that path, the last fixture the toilet needs to be the last fixture, so you don't have toilet waste running through the wet vent for another fixture. So here, this line is running over to the sinks, and so that's going to be the first fixture, and it generally is going to make the most sense that if you're going to use wet venting and kind of have a single vent for the whole bathroom like this, you're probably gonna need it to be the sinks, because those the drain for the sinks goes up into the wall, whereas the other fixtures, the tub and shower and toilet, that all goes down through the floor. So your sinks are starting at a higher point than your other fixtures. Now here at this point, I've got it all put together, but I don't think I've cemented anything up yet. And so it's just a dry fit, make sure it all is fitting good and looks like it's going to work out. Now here I'm finally starting to put it together, and starting kind of where I left off with that old drain line that comes up from the crawl space, and working my way over. Now this connection here, this was a tough one. The way it's strapped up there, and trying to push it together, but the straps are kind of resisting you from sliding the pipe in. So I had my wife come and push on the other end of the pipe while I put together the connection here. So here, putting on the trap arm for the shower, trying to make sure everything has the right slope to drain. And this next one just goes over to the where the bathtub's going to go. I ended up having to redo this one where I put that drain was kind of pushing the tub really close to the wall, and ended up the tile in the wall ended up building out a little bit farther than I expected, and also realized it'd be nice to have a little bit of room between the soaker tub and the wall. So I ended up moving this one out a couple of inches from where I'm putting it right here ultimately. So I did have to redo this, I guess the P-trap part right here to move the tub a little further from the wall. They're just adjusting those straps a little bit, making sure the slope is right before installing that in its final spot. And then here on the end of this pipe, you're going to see another one of those cleanouts at the end of this pipe. Right there, and yeah, in that case, when you go from a vertical pipe down to a horizontal pipe, in that case, you need to have the long sweep 90, I guess, on there, rather than the tighter radius elbow like I use when you go from horizontal down to vertical. Here, I think I had a tough time getting that long sweep wide there up into the ceiling, and so I think I ended up cutting a bigger hole in the ceiling there to get that up in there. Now this is where that that sink drain pops up, and there's going to be two different sinks here, double vanity, and so they're both going to go down through that one drain. Another way to do it would be to have each sink have its own drain line that goes straight down, instead of having one in the middle, and then connect them kind of in the horizontal section, I guess, down in the garage. I think if I had thought about that ahead of time, I might have done it that way instead, but this worked out too. So here I'm splitting off two separate verticals, I guess, to tie into let's see, at the top of that vertical right there, you see a sanitary tee, which allows the P-trap to be vented. There are sanitary tees like that have a incoming line on both sides, so you can actually have one sink coming on one side, the other sink coming on the other side of the same fitting. The thing with that is if you ever have to snake the drain, it's hard. You can't really get the snake to go down the sanitary tee. It's just going to jump over from one sink drain line to the other. This might make more sense when this is all put together, but if you feed your snake down the sink, it's just going to go over to the other sink and pop out the other sink. So the reason why I'm building these separate verticals for each sink is in that case, if you ever have to snake it out, then you can actually feed a snake that'll go down the pipe through that. Oh, I think I got a staple from the carpet padding stuck in my leg there. You can see the little chunk of carpet padding that came with it. It's a pretty good size hole there to run a 2-inch line. It probably could have been, or no, I think it's 1.5 inch at this point coming off of those sanitary tees. Anyway, it's still a pretty big hole. Probably bigger than what you'd be able to run. Oh, and that one I think is extra big because the actual fitting kind of has to stick into the stud there because it's so close. There's not enough room. I guess I could have moved that stud over or something, but so you wouldn't want to do that if this was a load-bearing wall, but because this is just a non-load-bearing wall, I don't think it's that big of a deal. So there you can see what I'm talking about with the two different verticals, with the sink drain, the two sink drains coming off either side of that. And that needs to go up a certain height before you join them back together. to have a 45 diagonal in there. That I think is supposed to be 6 inches above the flood level rim of the sink. So like the top of the countertop, I guess, on the sinks, 6 inches above that is where it becomes okay to have that vent pipe run diagonally instead of straight vertical. Alright, so that's it, and thank you for watching. Hope to see you on the next one.